Hello, everybody. We're back again, working on the Effect AI SDKs. We are currently in the midst of trying to enable a provider-defined tool to have a user-defined implementation, because some provider-defined tools, like using Anthropic as an example, some provider-defined tools like web search are totally server-side, whereas other provider-defined tools are like have a user space component. So, for example, like computer use or Bash or code execution. No, code execution is server-side. But like computer use and Bash and all that, those come back as normal tools that you have to then execute in whatever environment you created for that. So we're adding some more properties to our own like tool result part and tool call part to handle that, because one of the challenges was when Anthropic or any other provider returns a tool call, the names of those tools, which we then use to invoke like the corresponding handler in the toolkit, can be quite non-specific. So, for example, like with computer use for Anthropic, the name that comes back is literally just computer in the tool use part. And we really want to map that to something more specific in the toolkit, like Anthropic computer use. This way, in your toolkit, you could have handlers for like Anthropic computer use, but also maybe OpenAI computer use. And then depending on which model you're actually using at that point in time, that's the tool that actually gets called. So we're working on doing that. And basically what I've come up with here is basically on a provider defined tool, you declare the name that you want to be in the toolkit. And then you declare like the provider name. And maybe actually a better name for this would be like toolkit name and provider name. So toolkit name would be like the name of the tool in the toolkit, and provider name would be like the provider name's not really that great of a name. All right, well, we'll go with this for now. But toolkit name would be like the name of the tool in the toolkit, and this is what we track at like the type level. And then provider name would be like the raw name that gets returned by the provider that you would use when you actually go to encode and decode. So this would be toolkit name, options dot toolkit name. We need to adjust the provider defined prototype. Why is my LLV broken? I swear, I have so many problems with BTSLS in the ODM. I'm like debating between back to 30 TypeScript LS. Like, look at how slow this is. It's like, well, now it's so bad. Oh, look at that. There's like a solid delay. I don't know. Okay. It's two things. What does this make? Okay. Let's see if that fixes the issue. We'll go to tool, provider defined Bruno. And here we want this to be toolkit name. All right, we'll try this. Yeah, so again, the idea would be like this is the name you see when you implement it in the toolkit and like what you see when you decode a response from our SDK. But this is the name that the actual provider uses under the hood. So this way you deal with like the less generic name, and then when you're implementing the provider, or sorry, the user deals with the less generic, more specific name. And you, when you're implementing a provider, can use the provider name. Otherwise, it would be very difficult to allow multiple providers that may clash with this name. Like if OpenAI also uses computer, I don't know. But if it did, we'd end up with clashes in the toolkit. This way, we keep things nice and clean. And then we'll have to go back and fix up the language model. So I think the first thing we want to do is make response. This is probably the first place where it'll be easiest to figure this out. So when we get a tool call back from the provider, we want the name to be our own like provider defined name. Which we can do. And then the provider name will be the part.name. Here, I think what we want to do is have that's where it counts. This is going to be an internal, I think. Just want this to be this, and then we want it to satisfy is Public hash. And the reason we can't do like some transformation, I mean, we could, but it would be much more complicated, I think, than doing it this way. Is because sometimes, like, this is a perfect example of Robert Web search and player, where as providers evolve their provider defined tools, they may change the name of the tool call as it comes back, but we want to map it to the same we want to map it to the same toolkit name. This way you don't have two different versions of text editor like in the toolkit. So what we can do here is we can say, maybe what we can do is instead of this, we can do if name in provider names, provider, cool. Provider tool names, question mark. Then we want to do provider tool. Otherwise, we just want to return name. Oh yeah, we change this to provider executed. So what basically this allows us to do is we preserve the name returned by the provider here, but the actual tool name that we want to use is here. And by doing this little helper method, we can check if the name is in our provider tool names and return it. Otherwise, we just get the name back. And I wonder if it would be easier to do provider tool name map provider defined tools nail bang new map. It's probably like slightly more efficient what we're going to do here instead. The reason why we want to make sure that if we ever add more provider defined tools to this list in the future, that we update this. So that's why we have this type here. And actually, what we can do to fix this is now we should let it do that. Cool. We'll keep this internal because this is really an implementation detail. We don't need to expose it to the users, but now it enables us to do this. So we preserve the part name returned by the provider here, which means we can use it on the when we're converting responses back into prompts. So we can use it on the input side. But we have the tool name that we actually want to use for our toolkit here, which is great. So and actually, this should be undefined in the situation where um, um, okay. If the tool name is not undefined, that means we got a provider defined tool back. So we just want to use that. Otherwise, um, otherwise we just want to use the part.name. Cool. So basically what happens here is we try to extract the provider name. And if we have one, we use that for the name. Otherwise, we use the part name that came back, which should match any user-defined tools. And then this will be set to undefined in the event that we don't have a provider name. So this is perfect. And then we can use all of this like on the toolkit side. And then we want to do the same thing. Here. And we can actually take it one step further here, and we can use this for this check. Predicate is not undefined provider name. Um, Yeah, I know, Dami. I just realized it right here, so I fixed it now. This should be the part name that comes back. I feel like I'm confusing myself, but basically this name should be the name we define. If we have the provider defined tool, it'll come back to this. Otherwise, we use the part name, which should be user defined tools at that point, which are already like the appropriate name. And then this check says that if we do get a provider tool back, use the name that came back from the provider. So we'll do a similar thing here. The name is going to be the provider name. Provider name is going to be, and this can actually be provider tool. Here it's actually easier because I could do the check manually like I was doing before. But we'll do the tool results on in a minute. I just want to fix these. So here, here we should absolutely always get something back from Anthropic tool.get provider defined tool name, because this should always be. Wait, no. Here we actually have to just manually do this. We'll drop big. This is going to go. We're making a response. So this should be Anthropic code execution. Same thing here. When search file your name. Okay. I think this is what we want. So now let's split this and go down to the stream response version, because this needs now to be provider executed. Then we also need a read-only provider name. Stringer undefined. Message start, message delta, message stop, content block start. This is where we want it. So this is going to be provider executed false. I have to fix this type in a second. I need to delete this. This is pre-me fixing this. This is the name that comes back. So we want to do the logic we did here. Okay. So if we do get a provider tool back, we use it. Otherwise, we just use the tool name. Similarly, the provider name we only want to set if we get one back. Okay. Okay. And now I need to really quickly go to response and fix tool params start. Read only from provider name. Provider executed. Okay. Okay. So that should take care of regular tool use. Now we need to do server tool use. So once again, we can use similar logic. Communicate about is not undefined. Provider tool. Cool. Lane. Again, about content. Yeah. Okay. The name is the provider tool. The provider name is the tool name. Okay. For code execution, say that. Provider executed. It's all the same. I'm gonna do collapse always. Yep. Okay. Okay. Hopefully that'll work. Providing name, content, block. Cool. So hopefully that gives us enough on the provider side to deal with all of these different um, types of provider defined tools. We still need to go back to, let's go to toolkit. Maybe we'll do it over here. Then we'll go to, so we need to think about this for a second. This should be fine because when we commit the toolkit, the name we use when we commit the toolkit, the name we use is going to be the name, right? It's going to be the one that yeah. I think this is fine. I think we need to look here. I'll define tool with name, and toolkit. Available tools. Object dot keys tools. Okay. So this should already work because we're not changing any behavior from the toolkit side. This is unhappy. This should already work. Because the name is already where it belongs. Join, yeah. Doesn't it just format as an array if you do this? I can't remember. Yeah. Resolve tool false. Yeah, I'm seeing blue. So I think on the toolkit side, we're okay because we're still just using the name for everything, like within the toolkit, which is good. Means we don't have to do too much ridiculous stuff. Um, I think what we actually just need to fix now is on the provider side. So we did make response. Sorry, I'm in the wrong file over here. Project language model. Late response. So we already handled the response side of things where we map from the provider's response to our own. What we need to do now is in make request in prepare tools. Don't make combo. What we actually want here, if the tool is user defined, I feel like I'm confusing myself again. Where do I need to do this? Yeah, this says which tools to use in the request. I know where I need to do this. In prompt. From response. Parts. Yeah, I think I just wanted to do read only. String interpolation metric. It's fine. Better to go the extra mile. uh, so here, what we can do is we could say try During make prompt. Otherwise, we return from response parts. And then here we can just return the input as prompt. So if decoding messages synchronously fails, we just fall back to doing this. Not a huge fan of the way this is set up, but I need to be able to test this. Okay. So from response parts. So if we get a tool call, the name that we give the tool call is going to be either part.providername or part.name. If there's a provider name specified, we have to use that. And then here, provider executed, part.provider executed. And then here, same thing, part.provider name or part.name. Part.encoded results. And then we just have to go and I've made some improvements in the response module surrounding the part. Okay. And now we don't need these constructors. It's actually a better way to do this than what I'm doing here, but Um, the other thing I did on the response side was I just turned I basically just did this. So we got rid of this constructor. And for all of these, we did this. Type schema.literal text. Metadata. Optional. Movie. I think this works a little bit better. Well, so I need metadata. Right. Defined. So we'll do this. Let's do this for all the parts first. And then we'll come back. We'll do messages next. Let's do this metadata. Metadata. Okay. Type schema literal tool result tool call file easily. Okay. Now we can do the same thing for messages. Roll schema literal. Role is going to be user. Role is going to be assistant. Whoop. And role is going to be tool. And then the last thing we need to do is schema.attach property signature, message, type ID, message, type ID. Might be one more thing I need to do. Metadata, right. Cool. And then I'm still not 100% convinced on this API, but what's nice is that if you try to extract provider metadata from a response part that doesn't declare any provider metadata, the type is statically undefined. which is nice. I think it would be nicer if it was never. And I think we could achieve that with an option. Let's see what it feels like on this side. So we're going to need the same type over here. Stack provider options. We have to get rid of this. He extends a message or a part. And then provider options. Hello, Zalante. Max, when does Effect 4 come out? We're working very hard on it, especially specifically Tim and Julio are working really hard. We don't have an estimated release date yet, but they're making quite a substantial amount of progress every day. So stay tuned. I think this will work. Let's see. Discriminator extends key of provider options, option provider options, discriminator, otherwise never. Sorry, I don't have any more specifics for you, Ziolante. I would love to tell you it's coming out tomorrow, but it's not. But we are working extremely hard on it. We're trying to get it out as soon as possible, or at least start releasing like release candidates, because I think we haven't specifically, we've discussed like in general how we want to do this, but I think the idea we've had is that we kind of want to start with release candidates before we commit to like a stable 4.0. So there'll probably be a period of time where packages are being released under some sort of RC version number, but we haven't quite gotten to that point yet. Hopefully that's a good enough answer. Flat map nullable, but a beautiful thing. Metadata tag.p option.flat map nullable again. Sorry, options. Wonder if we should name it options here instead of metadata. Probably. I'll fix that in a second. Oh, it's important mistake. Okay. And then we have options again. Role in part, question mark, options, role, otherwise, options, part.role, otherwise, options, part.type. Cool. Should be options, 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 options. Should we do it? We're just going to fix this all while we're here. I had pretty much cargo culted this from the implementation of response, which is why it's named metadata, but it shouldn't be, because the on the input side, we really should just have options. Okay, and then options, 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 and options. Great. Number is not assignable to. It's the problem here. Option empty is not assignable to. To see if this works on the type level. Okay. Metadata is going to be extract, provider options, P, provider options. We need to rename metadata. And options, 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 options. Alrighty. At some point, I'd like to revisit this. It's all good, my man. I love you and the whole Effect Squad. Thank you very much. That's really nice. Honestly, the best thing about Effect is that Effect only has 2 dependencies. Yeah, I mean, we try our best to keep third-party dependencies to a minimum where we can. Okay, so if I did this right, if we go look at if we go look at our scratch pad for AI Anthropic, this should now be Anthropic computer use. Whoops. The only thing I wanted to test is if I declare a part like make part. I should now be able to do field provider options, Nice. Um, how are you all doing today? What's going on? What are you working on? If we weren't fools. I don't need to do this. Let's just log it. Undefined. That's great. Guess who broke everything today? Mattia. That sounds like something I would do. Um, when we make a toolkit, resolve input. If the tool that is provider defined tool else it's going to be quick. 5-minute refactor 3 hours later. Yep. Sounds just about right. Do I have my type wrong? I do. This should not be tilted in the shield. Because name is what's used by everything. This should now at least get a little further. Excellent. Okay. Let's take a look at this response. So, um, so we log out the parameters that get passed to the computer use tool, which right here is screenshot, which is perfect. Our generate text response as a tool call called Anthropic computer use. Provider name's computer. It's not provider executed, which is correct. It's executed by us. And now we can try going back to web search. And this will give us an error. And let's go back to toolkit. Okay. And now if we run this, an error occurred. What do we do? Uh-oh. Internal server error. Speaking of breaking everything, this is probably in making the request that we failed this. So let's go to Anthropic language model. Resolve tool. No. Prepare tools. It's a provider defined tool. I don't even think we're making it to this point. No, we have to. So we should be firing off that tool trace hot or responsible for my text. Okay, so let's go look at make request. No. Make request. Oh. Why is the code execution beta getting added? Oh, because wait. So do I not need this beta flag anymore? And drop and Brabeck developer guide. Code execution. Code execution 2025. So code execution 2025 0825. Code execution 25 be the header. Yeah, I had that. Code execution. Why does that not work? I do not understand why it is unhappy. It's not the beta header. Code underscore execution, right? Code underscore execution. I just using the wrong model. I think I'm using the wrong model. On Sonnet 4. Can I not have a web search in here at the same time? Oh, that's interesting. Didn't know that. Good to know. So, Mattia, what did you break? Cool. This seems to be working pretty well. Completely broke the layer graph just to support offline SVG graph instead of memory URL. Nice. Love it. Well, that's what we do, right? All right. So now that built-in tools are working pretty well, I think there are two more things I really want to tackle before I start just rolling out the rest of the providers, like basically trying to turn this into a finished PR. The two additional features I want to tackle are um, I want to be able to I want to be able to what's it called? I want to have a little bit more granular errors instead of just having the generic AI error. But before I even do that, the other feature I want to implement is stream object. So really, we're getting close to the point where we can start cleaning this up and turning it into a PR. But those two features are things that are missing that I really want to have. What did I break in chat? It's broken. It's probably it. Generate stream response. Um, so Hmm. Well, I think it can probably do what we do up here. Because really, this is just to allow us to get the history. Yeah, the problem with disconnecting like the stream from the actual stream is that the calling stream text from actually starting the stream is this, where we don't have like semantics around when the stream is starting and stopping. And I'm still not like 100% convinced on this like generate stream response thing I put together, because Vercel uses it specifically for because they stream like steps. So they use it to like aggregate pieces of the steps together, but we're not doing that. All right. Well, I need to think about this a little more. I think we're going to walk back what we did with streaming, because what we basically did was uh, we created this like generate stream response type, which contains all these like deferreds that you can like await to, for example, get like the usage or the finish reason or the tool calls, whatever. But I'm not sure that. Or if we do this, I might like literally attach these properties to the stream itself, the stream object. Yeah, I think I'm going to walk this experiment back and just go back to having a stream of parts that you get. I also think the reason like why Vercel has this kind of setup where, I mean, they don't have deferreds, but they have like a bunch of promises you can await. It's twofold. One, it's because they can stream multiple steps at once. But we want to create a better like agentic abstraction for streaming steps on top of AI chat. And they use it to like aggregate content and text, et cetera, across the different steps that they run. Plus, with Stream, we already have a lot of powerful ways to aggregate information with syncs. So I'm not really sure that doing this makes a lot of sense. I think I'm going to walk it back. What's up, Big Sexy? How's it going? And like I said, it also makes it really hard to reason about AI chat, because AI chat um, yeah, I think here we're going to revert back to the implementation we had previously, which was a stream of Yeah. I think this is way easier to reason about. Disconnecting the stream from running the stream also is kind of like weird. Wave after wave, wave after wave. Stream text. Streaming part. Unless it's doing that stream. And this can go back to being the stream itself. Okay. Let's figure out where we broke things. Right. 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 Okay. Don't think we need this pipe call. Yep. I think that's all we need. Cool. And then we just have to fix this method, which I'm just going to copy from my PR, which I think still has the old implementation. Packages, AI source. Generate object, string text. Copy. Now this can go away. Okay. I really want to know if I'm using this anywhere. Gotta fix this. Installs the stream part. Stream. Good stream. Okay. And this literally doesn't matter. Nice. All right. This is a good commit point. Um, that flushes out provider defined tools. So the next thing to do will be in language model. I'll probably work on this a little later, but the next thing to do, sorry if I've been ignoring chat. Nope, nobody's chatting. Cool. The next thing to do would be to implement stream object. Which I'm gonna have to think about like what that looks like. Probably again use Vercel's approach as inspiration. Probably won't land there, but all right, folks. I think I'm gonna wrap up for the day and do work on a few things I can't stream. But thank you all for joining. Let's see if we can go raid somebody.